In this video, we're going to look at the 2 steps that you can use to make urban sketching super easy. In the next 12 minutes, we're going to take this scene and convert it into this sketch. These 2 steps are so easy that you'll be creating stunning, minimal urban sketches that just look effortless. There's also a bonus 3rd step, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But let's just say it's what really polishes your sketch. For those new to the channel, I'm Karan, and I've been an artist and designer for over 15 years now, and I'm here to help you become a future artist. Let's get straight to it. The first step is to draw outlines. During this step is where you establish a few things, such as the subject, focal points, and the overall composition of your sketch. Taking a look at the scene, what do you think are the important elements of this sketch? What do you think I should focus on? If you said the bike cop, you are absolutely spot on, but there are more. There will be 3 focal points in the sketch. The first is the bike cop, who's giving me looks as I'm taking the photo, and the second will be the parking meter, just because it helps anchor your eye to the bottom left. The third will be the mannequin in the window display. I'm sketching the cop pretty quickly because I really don't want to get bogged down in any of the details. I just want to get the impression of him and his bicycle. As I'm finishing up the second wheel of the bicycle, I'll just go over some of the dots and dashes that I drew earlier just to solidify some of those shapes. But I have to keep looseness in mind. I don't want this to be a perfectly representational drawing. I want to get across the energy and the feeling of the scene. You're probably wondering why I'm drawing the cop and the parking meter first rather than the building. And the answer to that is super simple. Since they're in the foreground, I don't want the building to distract from them. If I drew the building first, I would then have to find space to include them. But since I'm drawing the building afterwards, I can sketch around them. I like to start from the tops and bottoms of the buildings to keep the proportions right. I first drew the street line to show the bottom of the building, and now I'm starting from the ceiling. The reason behind this is to fill the space in between rather than to make it up as I go. The last thing you want is to start from the top, and by the time you get halfway down, you realize that your building is completely out of proportion. This particular building is split into 3 floors. The ground floor with the shop front, the second floor with the windows, and the attic level. It's best to approach them as 3 different elements because they all have distinct features and details. The ground floor contains a lot of different architectural styles. It has the shop front, the mannequin, and the window display. It has most of the detail, but I don't think it's where the character is. The second floor is where it's at. It has these funky window shades, but it's still pretty minimal. And the rooftop is pretty traditional for North American buildings with gray shingles. When it comes to dividing spaces like I'm doing now with the window shades, you want to do this very loosely. Yes, you can measure it precisely and have each window pane the same exact size, but it doesn't really add to the building's character. For the ceiling, it's our old friends, dots and dashes. You don't want to be too precise here. You just kind of want to let the pen do the work. Be loose, let the pen lightly touch the paper. We're not aiming for straight and connected lines, just the impressions of them. And to define the shingles even more, I'll just add some vertical dashes. I'll randomly place them around the ceiling, no need to be precise here. And I'll use the same exact techniques for the window shades, except the lines are vertical dots and dashes. No need to be precise, no need to count every single window pane or every piece of wood. You're just giving the impression of the structure. I'll just darken some of these vertical lines here to show the separation of space between each window pane. And the final focal point is the mannequin with the wedding dress in the window display. I'll have to be extra loose here because I don't want the details from the dress to clash with our bike cop friend in the foreground. If you've watched my videos before, you probably already know what this next step is and why it is super important. The second phase is to use color effectively. Now, color does many things. The first thing color does is to separate the space between the foreground, the middle ground, and the background. It also separates lights from darks and effectively allows you to guide your audience's eye throughout the sketch. But what's the most important use of color? I bet you don't know. Let's find out. This is a fairly monotone scene, and to keep it minimal, I'll only use 2 colors. Well, if you don't count gray, then it's technically only 1 color. I'll start by loosely applying the gray to the areas of shadow. This will separate your foreground from your middle ground and your background, and it makes it easy and obvious to your audience what you want them to focus on. The great thing about using markers is that you can layer them so easily. So I don't need a darker gray here right now. All I have to do is to let the initial color dry, and I can go over it with the same marker, with the same intensity, and I'll have a much darker color. If you notice, I'm not coloring in the spaces and between the lines. I'm laying the colors down quickly and loosely. I want bits of white in between. I'll now use the light green to separate the spaces even more. This will allow my subjects to pop. And as we're adding these touches of dark green right now, the most important aspect of color is coming through. Colors allow you to direct your audience's focus by adding drama, emotion, and structure. It creates the overall feel of the sketch. At this point, this could be the end of your sketch, and you'll have something amazing to put on your wall, share your friends, or just post on social. Also, if you are posting on social, give me a tag. I would love to see and reshare it. But back to the sketch for a second. This last phase is what's going to tie everything together. It's what's going to give your sketch that finished, polished look. And it's my favorite part. I bet you already know what it is. If you guess contrast, then you are absolutely spot on. Though I don't think you should really get credit for that, because I preach about contrast in every single video. In this last step, I'll be loosely applying my black marker and using the white acrylic to deepen the areas of shadows and make those highlights really pop. Contrast is the final phase of your sketch. It's what gives you that polished look that's going to make you want to run out and buy a frame and hang this thing on your wall. So just to recap, doing minimalist urban sketching is as simple as 2 steps. The first is to establish your focal point and composition with your line work. The second is to use colors to add depth and create emotion. And the bonus step is to use your blacks and your whites to add contrast that'll give your sketch that polished look. If you saw this video and you said to yourself, I dig it, but I just want a little bit more minimalism, check out this video right here. It's a 7-minute sketch of downtown Toronto that only uses 2 colors.